A very pleasant good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Magandang umaga, tanghali, hapon at gabi sa inyong lahat na nakikinig at nanonood sa amin. Bago ako magpatuloy, nais kong sabihin na ito ang tinatawag nating Rita Gadi's Hour, which is actually your hour, and I am joined again by one of the finest minds this part of the planet, Bono ADAZA. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good day, Rita. I'm fine. Excellent.
Okay. Yes, we're greeting everybody because last time we had several thousands actually listening and viewing us. This is what happens, you know, every time we're on air, we have at least about 1,000 viewing, and then afterwards more are coming in. Well, you know, we have different time zones, so that's the way it goes. The title of our program is The Political Parade. But before we go into the nitty-gritty of what this political parade is all about, first, I'd like to commemorate the death anniversary of our former president, President Ferdinand E. Marcos, who died in Honolulu. And I'd also like to offer condolences to the family of the national artist and the national treasure, Bienvenido Lumbera. And of course, Bono, this is our friend, and he's fighting COVID right now, really putting up a good fight. Francis Bonanat, you remember Francis?
Bien.
Yes, he's he's doing well, but he's well with an oxygen tank beside him, battling the COVID. But he's well, he can listen to us, and I sent word to the Supreme Commander of that our Manobo tribe by Merlin, and I hope that they will be listening in. So hello, Francis, and I know you're fighting it out, and you're gonna be well. And Bono's here with me to wish you all the best. Would you'd like to say something to Francis, Bono? Can you hear me?
Not so well. I'm afraid,
dear.
but so, now, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah. So anyway, so that's the way it goes. We have to greet some people. We have to remember some people. And of course, we are now in front of people as we proceed with what we call the political parade. Oh my goodness, Bono, you've had a series on this in the Facebook, and you're logging in already. Is it the 10th or 11th of what you've been writing about? But first, let's give a summary of all of those that have already proclaimed themselves as candidates. Panfilo Lacson, then you had Isko Moreno, Emmanuel Pacquiao, Manny Pacquiao, and then of course we're waiting for the announcements of Bongbong Marcos, Leni Robredo, Trillanes, Bongo. And somewhere in the outskirts, we are hearing about Renato Puno, together with Rafael Alunan as his vice. So Bono, it's a whole list. Former Chief Justice Puno. Yes, okay. So Bono, this is the political parade. Do we profile them now, or do you at least have something to say first? The quality of leadership that we need.
Yes, Rita, as I've always mentioned in my column, that there are four major components of a leader. He should have character, he should have integrity, he should have discipline, and a revolutionary vision. Maybe the fifth is he should have brains in his balls and balls in his brains.
Indeed.
These are the necessary components for an effective national and even local leadership. So without this, they might as well give up. You know, they should not entertain people with their dances, their jokes. They're not necessary. What's important is to teach the people what the people should do during the elections and what are the good qualities of a president and what is the vision of the president.
Can we have that summary again? Bono, you were mentioning what are these traits that are important? Character,
integrity, discipline, vision, and brains in his balls and balls in his brains.
And vision. Yes. So there are many other things that we could add to this, but this is already a summary of what we expect of a leader in any position, in any elected position, whether he or she is running for a town mayor or a city mayor, or in the provincial or municipal boards, or for the House of Representatives or the Senate, or the office of the president, the Senate, yes, and the office of the president and the office of the vice president. Wherever it is that these people will be filing their certificates of candidacy, those are the qualifications that Bono has listed down. Let's do this one by one, Bono. Character.
Yes, character. Character has something to do with the following elements. Values. That's important. He should have the correct values. He should have the correct principles. He should mean what he says and says what he means. Because these are encompassed in character.
Are we referring to qualifications that we have seen already and we have experienced, or is this something that we mentioned time and time again, but is very difficult? I mean, they're very difficult to find in any one person. I mean, perhaps they have a little of values, but all the rest, there is a, as you would call it, some kind of a, well, anyway, so you had a kind of,
Rita, like they say, experience. In other countries in the world, people who are only 26 years old get to be prime minister. They get to be president. This is true in Africa, but most of them were educated either in Oxford or Cambridge, in Britain. And that was true in Burundi and in Nigeria and Uganda. It's true in these places. It's only here that we are using an antediluvian concept of the age by president.
There's a young girl.
A president or a leader in the fringes of dignity. It's a special time of a person. Sui generis yan. Sui generis. He is over and above the millions of people in this country. My theory is, out of 110 million, there must be one in every million who would qualify to be president or leader of this country. Now, according to the Australian journalist, the only difference is the guy who really gets to be president is the man who responds to the challenge of death. The challenge of death. And I could cite several persons to that effect. The most concrete example is Ferdinand Marcos, Ramon Magsaysay, and Manuel Quezon. These are people who responded to the challenge of death. And they have special qualities. You see them skirting the fringes of divinity because they are good teachers. They have good set of brains. They know what to teach the people. They know what should be the objectives of national governance. They know what is the kind of country that they build. Magsaysay, it's not original with him, but it's taken from Thomas Reed Powell of Yale University, given to Magsaysay by then Justice Fernando, who was teaching at the University of the Philippines. And he said, blessed in life should have more in this concept. And it's very telling because all policies of government should be defined in those terms. In those terms. Unless you do that, what kind of government will you have? You have a government of oligarchs. You have a government of the rich. You have the government of the powerful. You have a government where millions are poor and do not share in the bounties of the land. So Magsaysay is correct there. It was called, however, by Professor Thomas Ring Powell of Yale University. Another one, as a concrete example, we were gunning for independence during his time. Manuel L. Quezon was dissatisfied with the hero-cutting law. He wanted a law that he himself should participate in framing. So we had the Tidings-McDuffie law. So the most remembered statement of Quezon that was good during his time is, I'd rather have a government run by Filipinos, run like hell by Filipinos than a government run like heaven by an American. That was true during the time of Quezon because we were gunning for independence. We have to see to it that we should have a united stand to tell the United States of America that we want to be independent. Now, for instance, it should be, as I was writing earlier before we were talking with each other, like when Sara Duterte runs, he has to renounce and denounce many things that President Duterte stands for. So what should he say? He should borrow Quezon's words. My loyalty, my father ends where my loyalty to our people and our country begins. I mean, things like those. And then Garcia, for instance, Filipino first policy. Our problem here is we love many things foreign. Garcia was correct. We should promote many things Filipino. For instance, support our Filipino artists, support our Filipino athletes, support our Filipino entrepreneurs, support our Filipino literati. Support them. We should give them support instead of patronizing many foreign things. And Garcia was correct. One time, this guy, James Bell, who's a correspondent in Asia of Time magazine, wrote a comment about the Philippines and the government, which Garcia didn't like. So Garcia said, that guy cannot enter the Philippines. He's banned. Because here, what is more important is what the Filipino thinks and does. And Garcia also said, in Cebuano, ang sulti, ang buhat mo ipasultihon, dili ang sulti mo ipabuhaton. A president should be deedless in words and wordless in deeds. Things like this. You teach that to everybody and you start learning. Keep on memorizing these things because these are the guideposts in life. Not only for the leaders, but for the ordinary citizens. Tayo alam mo, even until now, pag foreigners, nako, palakpakan tayo. But they should remember that, Rita, when I attended the International Parliamentary Union Conference, which is composed of 4,000 legislators all over the world, in my experience, the only Filipino who spoke on human rights for 10 minutes, extemporaneous, got a standing ovation. The Filipino is brilliant. He knows what he's doing. So why should we not rely on ourselves? That should be the kind of leader we have. Why should we be intimidated? That's why in my proposal of a good government is we should be in nuclear power. Why? Korea is a poor country. North Korea is a nuclear power. America, China, Britain, and Russia are afraid of North Korea. Tayo, according to President Bush, we are the richest country in the world. And we do not have nuclear weapons. By God, why can't we equip ourselves with nuclear weapons? Erase that provision in the Constitution about anti-nuclear. That's a whole crazy idea. That's past. Not Rita, not to wage war, but as a deterrent to these people who keep on bullying us. That we have weapons like North Korea now. China will not be taking over in the West Philippine Sea. Yeah, that's why we should think outside of the box.
Exactly, Bono, as you said, outside of the box is precisely no longer to go nuclear as far as weapons are concerned, but to go nuclear as far as energy is concerned. I'll follow through with that. But
nuclear for energy and for weapons as deterrent.
No, I'll disagree. I'll disagree with that. That's precisely why all of these movements and all of these conferences for disarmament are failing precisely because they do not want to disarm themselves. You know, this is the danger. My goodness, do we want to annihilate each other, that each of us, each country should have nuclear weapons? Bono, let's get back to, yeah, well, let's leave that for a while for another discussion.
Mutual annihilation.
Exactly.
If America can do it, so can we.
My goodness, but look at what America has been doing over the past, since the United Nations is organized, which is supposed to be an organization for peace. It has gone into war so many times, and always the threat of
Rita, the president should also know what to do in foreign affairs. There are many things that have to be done in foreign affairs.
Yeah, we'll go into that. Yes, Bona, let's get into that first. You're speaking of character, and you spoke of values and principles. And of course, this is very important because every president, I don't know what it was then, but I only remember when Marcos became president, he had this battle cry, this nation can be great again. When we interviewed,
That's Ferdinand Marcos, borrowed by Trump.
Exactly. When I asked him, when were we great? And so he mentioned how it was during the time of the Datus, we had from Manila and all the way to the south, and that was the period with some kind of a golden age. But these were different feudal lords. Then he said we can reconstruct ourselves so that we can, exactly what he said. That is why you had that, that another call for the citizens to follow. Disiplina ang kailangan para umunlad ang bayan, discipline. You mentioned that as one of the characteristic traits that a leader should have. But let's get back to values. Can you imagine now, Bono, that character formation, value system will have to be taught? There is something that happened in our youth then and now that the value system seems to have gotten lost. I don't know where. Was it because of too much commercialization or being so much like what the Western countries have become? Or we have forgotten the inherent value systems that we had from way, way back. So here you have, that's where it's important because that's where you have respect. Respect for the law, respect for elders, respect for authority, and so forth.
And each other, Rita.
And respect for each other. Yes, indeed. Yes. Then let's get now to the other qualification that you said, integrity. Oh my goodness. Almost all candidates have this, the cry for I will
almost
stop
all corruption. Candidates have no integrity.
But they're there to stop corruption, etc., and all of this. So where is this going?
You know, Rita, the main problem here is we have instrumentalists. In plain and simple words, opportunists and balimbings. People with no principles, no integrity whatsoever, depending on the seasons. Wither vein, Cory, Marcos, Arap, they're always there. These instrumentalists, these opportunists, and these balimbings. Look at the present scene. Hindi ba? Most of these people are running for president and trying to contest the Duterte administration. These were running dogs of Duterte. These were Duterte loyalists. And now that they feel that the ship of Duterte is sinking, they are jumping like rats and then running for president. My God, ano ba yan? Ano ba yan? Before, they agreed with Duterte. Now, they will disagree with Duterte. On what grounds? Why? Before, they had no integrity. Now, they are claiming they have integrity. That's a lot of nonsense. That's why in this election is determinative of what this country will be, not only in the next 6 years, Rita, but in the next few decades. Because my formulation is this. In the 2022 elections, it's a battle between the traditional politicians and the non-traditional. Incidentally, there's only one guy you might know to be non-traditional, and this is the X factor. He is for changing of systems. Lahat yan, system yan. They are thinking inside the box. They want to work inside the box. This X factor is working outside the box. No, because I tried hard to frame a new horizon or new beginnings for this country. I'm meeting him tomorrow. I'm not identifying him yet. I'm meeting him tomorrow because if he runs without the necessary components, I'll tell him, don't waste your time. You'll just get smothered in the process. Because, the traditional elements or components for elections have not changed. You need to have money. You need to have power. You need to have influence. Influence in various areas. Without money, you cannot even fly to the next island. So, where will you be? You cannot even buy space in the newspapers, like somebody I saw who already bought one page in today's PDI. How can you buy so much space in television, radio, in the dailies if you have no money? That's why I'm telling anyone who has no money, don't play politics. That's not the name of the game. It's true. You may have character, you may have integrity, you may have discipline. You must have utak sa bayag and bayag sa utak. You have no money, you'll go nowhere. There is no way you can go. Now, these are the choices you have to make. Because the other choice, if after the elections, still nothing happens, the Filipinos make a choice. The Filipinos make a choice whether it should invoke Section 1 of Article 2 of the Constitution. Namely, the Philippines is a Republican democratic state. Sovereignty resides in the people and all government authority emanates from them. We are faced with that situation. Because if we continue with the cycle, the same faces, the same politicians, the same graft and corruption, the same failures, this country cannot afford it. We'll either end up as a province of China or as a colony back of the United States. Well, the United States will not accept us as a state. To accept the Philippines as a state is a problem. It's a problem, so why you have a problem? But China, they will be willing to take the Philippines as a province. That is a choice we have to make.
Bono, you mentioned something which is quite interesting. You said this is going to be a fight between the traditional and the non-traditional. Traditional politicians have been there from the time politics existed in our country. As a matter of fact, you have the same names of of grandparents all the way down. All of this have been passing on from generation to generation. We call them traditional because they belong to a certain era and that they had certain qualities which perhaps, as you said, they would just be catering to either the sponsors or those that invested in them, and they will be beholden to whoever is financing their campaign and their election. And then you have the non-traditional. Who are these non-traditional? Do we still have non-traditional politicians in existence now? Meaning people who are outside the box? Because this box that you're mentioning is the system that will have to be changed and can only be changed if we have a new fundamental law, because it all boils down to the party system. If there is a platform or there is a stand, a program that the candidate stands for, then it will not be a personality thing. What is happening now is kailangan kilala. Yan yung mga traditional politicians. Yung pangalan, kilala na rin. Kung hindi artista, nakakabit sa artista. So this is like following celebrities, not leadership, but celebrities. That's the way it goes. So who are the non-traditional? Yun ang sinasabi nga, 1 in every 1 million. But where do we find them? If you look at the list of those that have already proclaimed, where do they belong? Panfilo Lacson, Manny Pacquiao.
All traditional.
They
want to operate within the box. They want to operate within the system.
Exactly. So
nobody is even asking for a revision of the Constitution. Nobody is saying parliamentary and federal system. Nobody is saying constitutional transition government. Nobody is saying Filipino first policy. Nobody is saying agri-industrial development in all levels, maritime, in power, in air, in everywhere. You know, we should be thinking along those terms. This is the modern era. We are all antediluvian. We want to hark back into the past and on the present, and the system does not work for the good of the people. You know, since I was in high school and I came to Manila after graduation, I've seen the same squatter colonies, the beggars in the streets, and that's more than 50 years, Rita. That's half a century. By God, nothing has changed in half a century. That's why me, other than my writings, I keep on saying I want to participate in system change if it's the last thing I will do.
And that can only happen if we really change the fundamental law, make it, exacting as far as our needs, and as you said, the future is concerned.
Yes.
If we look at the candidates that have already proclaimed themselves, you could see that they belong to the traditional. It's all about we will eliminate graft, we will build houses for the squatters, we will, as you said, nobody's talking about getting the products of the farmers and the fishermen and putting it on the table of 18 million who are below the poverty line. Nobody's talking about the wealth of our natural resources, as you said, industrialization, which could be harnessed, to produce and to have investments for our people. Nobody's talking about tourism. My goodness, little countries who are our neighbors and many other countries derive the largesse of their income from tourism. We can outdo the rest of the world with tourist spots but nobody's talking about this, as you said. But talking, these are just words. We have to get back at the character of the persons, of the personalities that we are going to elect into office. That's why I'm saying it's a political parade. Parang sa beauty contest, okay, turn around 360 degrees, measuring 34, 21 or something like that. That is exactly how we should view them. Here is a candidate. Let's look for the presidency, for instance. That is where these qualifications that you're talking about should really fit in. May character ba yung tao na yan? His life determines his character. So we have to look at his past. What was he before? O lahat sila, galing ako sa mahirap. But why? My goodness, now they have 5 houses abroad. They have all the latest cars. And then they can speak na galing ako sa mahirap. I mean, it's like an oxymoron, actually. Then you say integrity. Oh my goodness. Sino dyan sa mga pangalan na yan na binanggit natin pag-uusapan ng integridad, and then of course, anyway, other qualifications. So Bono, the way things go, how is it now? What is this political parade that we are watching?
Rita, if I were to join the circle of power on 2022, meaning after the elections of 2022, I joined the circle of power, I will demand from the circle that we have a new constitution within 6 to 12 months, meaning put a federal and parliamentary system in place. And then you can do that by establishing what is known as a constitutional transition government, having a lean and clean government, federal and parliamentary, lean, 39 members of parliament, 320, by God, paying for 320 people. We should pay for 39, who knows their business. Okay, and then unicameral, and then 13 states, including Metro Manila as the 13th. It's not just mere devolution of power. it is contained in the Constitution. What are the federal powers and what are the state powers? Supreme Court, why do you have 15? Should have 5 with limited jurisdiction, death, validity of treaties, and constitutionality. And all cases should be decided in 6 months from the time of filing. It can be done. It will be done if I am joining the circle of power. Maybe I do not want to say, to tell them that, ADAZA, you're tilting at windmills. Try me if I join the circle of power.
About time, Bono. It's really about time, really. People like you should be out there already, you know, in the circle of power, because it's precisely where change will have to be undertaken. And that's exactly what we're trying to sort out. We have here the parade of these political characters.
Rita,
yes,
we should see in the parade who are the men and women with them in the bus. Who are they? Who are their advisors? They should be telling the people now who are going to be members of their cabinet. Because we should not be working from out of the clouds. Who will be their Secretary of Justice? Who will be their Secretary of Defense? Who will be their Secretary of Education? Who will be their Governor of the Central Bank? I mean, all these are very important. As Henry Kissinger had put it, if you do not know how to be president the first day of office, you'll never learn until the end of his term. So many presidents of ours, by the way, they never learn until the end of their term. So maybe we should require them. Sino ba yung mga advisors mo dyan? Sino bang magiging members ng cabinet mo? Education. Ano bang gagawin nila sa education? Ano bang gagawin nila sa agriculture? Ano bang gagawin nila sa foreign affairs? Ano bang gagawin nila sa DOST? These are questions which are real and valid, and this should be a part of the debate.
That's a very good point, Bono. That should be a requirement which we, the voters, should demand of the candidates, especially for the office of the president, because that is where, the seat of power is, and that is how governance will be trickling down to the rest of the local government units. So that is most important. As you said, if there could be not changes, but if there could be a new constitution which will already have the federal form and the parliament, then I think that's already taken care of there. But as you said, and that's a very good point, who are these people that will be managing the executive department, all those departments that you mentioned, to make the government, to simplify, and as you said, to make it lean? That is so crucial and that is so important. Can you imagine? In one office, for instance, ang dami-daming mga commission here, commission there, you know, so many of this under the office of the president, and so many other parallel bodies in the different executive departments. And you could put them together. Certain departments could already be blended together so that, kasi hiniwa-hiwalay, so sports, merong education, merong, and all of this, merong higher, merong lower, etc. But again, to make it lean, then there really has to be some kind of a bureaucratic reform as far as this is concerned. Yes. The bureaucracy is where, the bureaucracy functions by itself. Whoever is the president, whoever is there.
It's bulky, Rita. The current bureaucracy is bulky. So many duplications.
Exactly.
Investigations, several agencies. I can't. I don't know.
One office, for instance, is something
because
like 20 vice presidents. My goodness. Why so? Anyway.
If I were in the circle of power, I will ask the circle, let's tell the Secretary of Education, this is what you should do in the 6 months. Kaya mo ba? Can you do it? Yes, sir. Okay. After 6 months, if you can't do it, you sign now your undated resignation. You have the business being there, because we are operating on a limited time frame. Life is not as long as the life of Methuselah. How I wish it were like that. And it would be recurrent like the early morning sunrise. It does not happen that way. So many of my friends have already joined the Innumerable Caravan. Lately, my friend Louis Villafuerte has joined the Innumerable Caravan. And by the way, during the time of Cory, Louis was assigned to reorganize the government. When he presented this idea of reorganization, he lost the job because they don't like the government to organize, you see.
Louis Villafuerte was there even during the time of President Marcos. He was already serving in the cabinet of President Marcos. The last time I covered, one of our visits to Rome, he was part of the delegation then. This was when you already had a parliament. You were a member of the parliament then. First, we had an interim, which was transitioning from the old Congress to the parliament, and then we already had the regular parliament where you were elected as one of the members also, and that is exactly the experience you have, which we have to institute again, as you said, so that the representation will be and legislation would be better attended to instead of all of this lengthy investigations, etc., inquiries, and so forth. So you can just have the parliament doing the law and thinking of policy that they can submit to the president and so forth. So anyway, Bono, we are talking about leadership. So I think on the local level, it is easier for the people to determine sino ba ang gusto nilang maging mayor o kung sinong gusto nilang maging gobernador. Sinong ilalagay sa provincial board o sa mga municipal board. So you could see how important it is. And that is why, it's important that we have to look into all of this sabi nga, the devil is in the details. But it is also important that when we look now at the higher offices, for instance, since we still have the old constitution, so we have the Senate, 12 people that we're going to put there. What have they done over the past 6 years that they were there, and what program, what other laws are they going to come up with? Ang dami-dami na nating laws, Bono. Have we indexed this? If you look at the archives in Congress, my goodness, we have been petitioning this for so long. I-index na lahat ng mga sa crime, lahat ng civil, lahat ng pagsama-sama na para malaman what can be amended, what can be rescinded, what can be thrown away after all these years, And then you have, as you said, 320 of them. And then you have the party list, another one. The COMELEC already has stretched itself to reduce the original idea of what a party list is. The marginalized. Hindi na yun hindi na marginalized. You give a name which sounds marginalized, and then you have a millionaire who's running in that particular party list.
As a matter of fact, that idea should not have been introduced in the first place. That's operative in certain countries. It's not operative here. Here, you have a good formula. It turns out to be bad. Because nobody observed the basic rules. For instance, the basic rule of voting. The voter should first listen to the candidates. What do they stand for? What will they do? What is their character? What is their qualifications? Nobody does that, Rita. Nobody. Alam mo, malapit ako butuhan ko ito. Binibigyan ako nito. When I ran, I'll give them my experience. When I ran for governor, I ran on my own program. I teach the voters what they should do. That's what the governors, the congressmen should be doing. And the mayors teach the voters what they should do, whom they should vote for. And I was telling them, if you don't like my program, vote for the other side. Vote for the other side. But if you like the program, it's good for you, it's good for the province, then vote for me. Stop making me drink. Stop making me dance. Stop making me sing. Because that's not what the governor is for. A governor is to tell you what needs to be done in the province. These people should be doing that. But nobody does it eh. Kanta naman ang luko. Sayaw naman luko-luko. Ay, nako. Jokes. This kind of politics, Rita, is good for one place I know. In the Center for Mental Health. They should be delivering their speeches there. They will all be elected, I'm sure. But the Filipino voters should learn. That's why, the JCs have a program. I got invited to the program. They said, voter education, not only voter education, leadership education. Leadership, because the leaders should be instrument in the education of the voters. That's where my dispute with Manning Pillay, Vice President Pillay, was. He was saying, let's democratize the country from the roots up, a wrong approach. Many of these people are not exposed to ideas. Many of these people are not exposed to books. Many of these people have not traveled, and they will teach us how to govern the country. The ones who will teach at the very beginning are the leaders. Leaders, because many are educated, some are schooled, many are schooled, but they are not educated. Let's get the educated ones to educate. That's why I'm in favor of having a weekly reorientation seminar for everybody. Maybe in the next 6 years. A reorientation of the voters, reorientation of the citizen, reorientation of the leaders. These people should be told what they should be doing, because they've been through schools, but they don't get educated. They don't get educated.
That's where you have the dichotomy. You have our people who are street smart, meaning they know exactly what livelihood means. They know how to make a living. They know how to act out a livelihood. We're resilient as far as I'm concerned. Ang galing natin dumiskarte. In other words, even though we have poverty levels, etc., our people know exactly how to survive. We're very good at it. So we know exactly what we want or what we need. But these are just basic and fundamentals. The leaders, as you said, you mentioned this already many times, should have that vision. What is that vision? That is gathering together a dream which the people may have in their imagination, or something that could inspire them for a better life. That's exactly what the leader should present, as you said, a vision. What is it that has some relevance directly to the sari-sari store owner, to the karinderya, to the server, to the waiter, to the fisherman out there in the open sea, the farmer? Land reform, 7 hectares meron ako, pero hindi ko pa kayang pakainin ng pamilya ko. Paano papakainin ng buong bansa? I mean, many things actually should have a direct impact, not just for the present of the people, but something that they feel they could aspire for, and which the leader that they will elect into office would be able to give them. That is where you said a vision, something that would inspire. I remember Susan Roses, when she accused a candidate saying, hindi mo lang ninakaw ang boto namin ng tao, ninakaw mo rin ang kanilang panaginip. That struck me. She's
That's
from
correct.
the movie. Yeah, she's
That's
from
correct.
the movies. Yeah.
Because
She knows the she knows the movie world. People go to the movies not just to be entertained, but to have a respite from the drudgery of day to day, to look at beautiful clothes and beautiful people, to have that 1 hour and a half of enjoying something that they will never be able to achieve, but at least for 1 hour and a half, it was a dream. And for that, and then they can go out inspired. Maybe
yes.
I could be like that, like what I saw in the movies. So when she said, ninakaw mo rin ang kanilang panaginip, that is the vision that you're talking about.
Alam ko,
Rita,
kung sinong nagnakaw. Yeah. Alam ko kung sinong nagnakaw sa mga panaginip ng taong bayan. Exactly. Let me interview here at this point. Leaders, as the classicists would have it, should have these qualities. he should have the qualities of Cicero, who can make people listen, and the qualities of Demosthenes to make people march. Yes. And Rita,
Yes.
without mentioning names, we did that in 1978 in Region 10. We did that in Region 10. We did not only let people listen, we also made people march. And even President Marcos noticed all that, Rita. He noticed all that. I know that from Secretary Antonio Urquiza, is very close to President Marcos. And incidentally, I was also close to Antonio Urquiza because I was his lawyer and I was his friend, lawyer and his friend.
Exactly, as you said, the leader is a face. The leader is a voice. The leader is an identity of the nation.
Correct.
And the leader is something real and tactile, but powerful enough. Something
He
like
represents,
God, so to speak,
the country, Rita.
Yes, who can
The
make it
picture of the
rain?
country is reflected
Who can
in
make
the
it
leader.
rain by the sound of his voice? Remember, you were mentioning African leaders, and that was, and that was where this all started. They could make it rain by the sound of their voice. That is what it is. Your leader should be a face, a voice, an identity. Kasi pag sinasabi mong programa, the program doesn't march. You don't see that the program is implemented by the person. The person personifies this. That's where that's the importance of it. So we look for this. This is the parade now that we're watching. Is anybody there at all? As you said, that when they speak, I will follow and I will listen and I will march with him. Will you march with Panfilo Lacson? Will you march with Manny Pacquiao? Will you march with Isko Moreno when he speaks with all the oratorical, eloquence that they may have? Will you march with Lenny Robredo, with Trillanes if he runs, with Bongo if he decides to run for the presidency, with all of this, with Bongbong Marcos, the son of a great leader? At one time in our 21 years administration of Ferdinand Marcos, he was the one who had his vision for the country early on, even as a congressman. He already had that in his mind, how to be able to make the country great again. So that is the kind of character that we're looking for. Somebody who early on, and this is not a matter of just being the valedictorian or having all of this summa cum laudes. It is, as Miriam Defensor, the late Miriam Defensor would say, we have to, and as you would say, kailangan edukado. But that is not just the qualification that is necessary, because then, that the leader should be somebody that the street folk can identify with all the way to the vision that he is presenting to them. Sino sa mga ito, na mga pangalan na binanggit ko, Bono, can be able to make people...
Well, sa kanila, may X factor in the game. I am talking with the X factor na tomorrow.
Okay, very good.
Asking him whether all the components are there, because not all the components are there. I'll tell him very frankly, don't run. Don't run and waste your time and waste the time of the people. Because it's not enough to have brains in your balls, to have character, to have vision, to think out of the box. Because the present conditions would not elect that leader unless he has money. He has money not to buy votes, but to organize. For instance, social media. You're running against so many trolls. You have to build your own trolls. Television, radio, newspapers, flying from one area to another. If you don't have that kind of money, you will not go anywhere. Somebody was telling me, why don't you run? I said, why? You think I have money? I have no money. If I had money, I would have run a long time ago. That's my problem. I said, so sabi niya, why don't you find people who finance you? No. I'll not allow anybody to finance me. As a matter of fact, during the time of Cory, as I don't know whether I mentioned this, Itay Pan was talking to me. don't run for the Senate, run for Congress. Why? You will lose in the Senate. They'll seat you. Run in Congress. I'll finance you. If they spend 1,000, I'll spend 2,000. If they spend 2,000, I'll spend 4,000. Meaning I'll be slave of the... no, that's not my cup of tea. I'd rather sit it out here with you, discuss ideas, write my columns, print my books. Maybe I'll have a better time. No?
I'm refraining, Bono, I'm refraining myself.
Rita,
Yeah.
it's interesting. 2022 is a benchmark election. Yes, I wanted to retire. Everybody tells me, you retire. Why should I retire? There is no retirement. Retiring in trying to build a country. There's no retirement. Mahathir retired at 71. He had to go back at 73 because he was dissatisfied with what was happening. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in a wheelchair, told not to run anymore after the second term. He ran for a third term until the fourth term because he had to build the country. Tennessee Valley Authority, and etc. etc.
Bono, I'm refraining myself from mentioning the candidate that I have in mind.
Who?
I will do this as soon as he has filed his certificate of candidacy because I don't want to preempt anyone at this stage. But I've already mentioned some names: Panfilo Lacson, Emmanuel Pacquiao, Dumagoso Moreno, and then of course those in the margins waiting for I don't know what, like Lenny Robredo will wait if Marcos will run or if the opposition will endorse her. Then you have Trillanes, who said that he could be substitute for anyone who's not running for the presidency in the opposition. And then you have Bongo waiting for Duterte. If Duterte tells him to jump, then he will jump, and so forth. And then, of course, I mentioned former Chief Justice Renato Puno, whose vice president would be Rafael Alunan. It's a good combination that they have there. And then somewhere in the outskirts, you also have Gibo Teodoro, who already announced early on that he's also interested to be the vice president of anyone who would pick him up. Then, of course, you have other parties that are coming out. So until such time as they have all filed their certificates of candidacy, I personally will not be indulging in talking about my candidate of choice because I think by the way I have spoken over the past years, you would know exactly who I have in mind. But anyway.
That's the correct approach, Rita.
Yeah.
Until the time they file their certificate of candidacy, and more or less the situation is fixed, unless there will be changes, somebody gets sick,
November.
Somebody decides to change his mind. There is a period for substitution. No?
Yeah, until November, I understand. So we're talking about a parade, a political parade. It is like when the circus comes to town. You have all of the band playing, etc. It's a happy event. Elections are always a happy event in a way because people, there's a lot of distribution going around with pamphlets, envelopes, or whatever. But there's a lot of things, some goodies actually are spread out. A lot of people have been calling me asking for tarpaulins, etc., which they will hang in their front yards and whatever it is. So, but this is a different kind. You said it's a benchmark. Why is it a benchmark election in 2022?
It's a benchmark election because this will determine the destiny of this country.
Does not every election determine our destiny?
Yes, it will determine the destiny of this country. Rita, if there is going to be a wrong choice and it will be a cyclical movement, I think there is a strong possibility of a constitutional intervention. There is a strong possibility of a constitutional intervention. I'm just analyzing. I am not advocating. I'm just analyzing. And
you're analyzing, you're not advocating. I'm praying for it strongly. I'm making a novena for it. We've been working for this constitution change. Not a change, but a new constitution. We've been working at this for the past 3 years. In fact, from the first year of President Duterte's administration, we announced this, that there will be a new constitution. Even he even appointed a committee to work on this with Chief Justice.
That commission is a flop. Imagine recommending 400 members of Congress. What are they talking about?
Well, whatever it is,
recommending three
there was
regional
the
Supreme Courts.
Yeah. There was the
with 9
intent,
members.
Bono. Exactly.
Good God.
But the intent was there, and that's exactly what we're advocating, what we're praying for, what we're hoping to happen.
The problem is these
a
people who composed the commission. I don't know. I don't like to say anything anymore, but the product tells the kind of commission that they have. Res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself.
So, I know several of them, and I've talked to several of them. There are some good points there, but as I said, you have said too, it should be brief, brief, less
brief,
words.
Informed,
this is still
broad in substance,
yes, exactly,
and clear in meaning. The Constitution should be in few pages. It can be read by school children. It can be read by the ordinary Filipino and understood.
And
they know what the rights. They will know the rights, the responsibilities. Because the problem. I've been observing even in the United States of America. Many people in America don't even understand what democracy is all about. I've been listening to their statements. They claim about like mask. I don't like to wear mask because that's my freedom. No, that's not your freedom. It's your freedom not to wear mask in your house. But the moment you get out of your house, you have a responsibility to wear mask. Your freedom ends where my nose begins. Do not be waving your arms around and say that you have freedom to hit my nose. No. Your freedom ends where my nose begins.
It has to be the kind of constitution that you can actually memorize.
Correct.
And it has to be in such a language that it could be at least poetic in the sense that
it will be done. Rita, it will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I don't know. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm very positive about life.
It just struck me, Bono, for instance, like the Bill of Rights. Is it possible to change the pronoun there, instead to have a pronoun there instead of just saying that this is the right to do this? I have the right to protect my property. I have the right to have an attorney, a lawyer, if I can. Can you say just I? Is it possible to just say I, so that this is directly the people saying it, memorizing it, and reciting it, instead of saying that you have the right to remain silent, etc., and so forth? No, I have the right. Is it possible to just...
Rita, the Bill of Rights can be reduced to 5 statements, to 5 sections.
We just anyway. So anyway,
let's 5 sections.
We'll go into that in detail when we're already there.
Good God.
Exactly, Bono. But now, as I've said, you have listed down at least some, the categories or the qualifications that is so important. But I think above everything else, one thing which really predominates it all is character. As they say, character is destiny.
True. Most of them are character.
Character performing roles, you mean, not character in the essence of
most of them. That's why I'm not. There is 1 or 2 who has character.
Anyway, we look forward to this, Bono. So I hope that September, is it? Yeah, you have September, the filing of certificates of candidacy next month.
October 1 to October 3.
Next month, you have the
filing of certificate
registration.
Candidacy. But there is now the bill approved both by the 2 houses of Congress, extending the registration to October.
Yes.
So
I think that the young people will also have quite a big voice in this.
That's a good avenue.
Yes, a very, very good idea. And then, of course, the other thing which we have to tackle next time that we have this discussion is how are they going to campaign? What manner or methodology of having contact with the people? Would they have house to house, hand to hand? How is this?
Yes.
1 meter apart, wearing a mask that you won't recognize your candidate, or you have surrogates, or you have all of this, you know, that's going
I
to
would
be very
suggest, Rita, that the campaigning will be limited to debates in Zoom like this on the national level.
The COMELEC should
On
do
the
some,
local level, also on
Precisely.
Zoom.
Yeah.
On the local level, instead of
the
appearing
COMELEC,
there personally.
the COMELEC should
And then, on the national level, the COMELEC should print the qualifications. Should print the qualifications, their program of government. Because when they file their certificate of candidacy, they state their qualifications, their experience, you know, and their platform. That should be printed in social media and in the newspapers and in television. COMELEC should do that.
Yeah.
That should be their duty, to inform everybody, even on the local level. It should be posted in various areas, in barangays, in puroks. Should be posted there.
Yes,
What are the qualifications
I hope
of
they're
these people?
listening. And so when we get to interview the members of the Commission on Elections, and perhaps we can have this, you know, we can have them look into this, and that would be a very good point as far, because now really the difficulty is the social distancing, how the candidates will be known, how will people be, we're very tactile, you know, that's why you have candidates carrying the babies, embracing, hugging. We won't be having that anymore. Wala na yon. And then wearing a mask, my goodness. So you're correct. Through the Zoom, at least, walang cover yung kanyang mukha. And then maybe you can have 2 or 3 of these candidates, and then you could already compare also, you know, each one of them. So as I've said, I've mentioned some names. We'll see if there will be other names coming up. Then maybe the next time we do this discussion, Bono, as soon as they've already filed their certificates of candidacy, then we can do the profile of each one of them. We can go to town.
Over 1 to 8. It's a good time. It's a very good time.
Very interesting.
That's why all my conclusions for the moment, as I wrote in my column, are tentative. They are subject to changes. But I have my own speculations, my predictions based on the current situation.
Exactly. For those
like,
who
for
are
instance,
listening,
if President Duterte does not run for Vice President, surely Sara Duterte, the best combination would be Sara and Amy, or Sara and Bongbong. No, insofar as winning, I'm not endorsing anybody. I'm just saying, I am calibrating the chances for winning.
Yeah.
The chances for
Okay,
winning.
so let's see how it goes, because they've already made statements.
Rita,
yes.
One point, I do not agree with the academicians and the PR practitioners that the North-South balance no longer matters. That's not true. The North balance still matters.
Of course it
still
matters,
matters.
Yes. Precisely because,
a tandem that represents the South and the solid North, that's a formidable tandem.
Precisely.
That's a formidable.
These are the 2 major languages, as a matter of fact, you know, so that is already the divide that we have, which has to be a unifying factor when it comes to the office of the president anyway, and the vice president for that matter. So we'll go into the profile of these candidates as soon as they've come up with their certificates of candidacy. But meanwhile, Bono, before we close, just to look at those who have joined us at this time. Let me see. We have Unite Elmer, good afternoon. El Puerto, GBA missed your video chat. Anyway, you can watch again. You can watch this because we're on YouTube likewise. Ellen Rodriguez, good afternoon po. Jackie Baniwas, BBM for President. Oh, they're already endorsing. Ava Kylie Ryu, good afternoon po. And then we have Paleng Galing, magandang hapon po ma'am. Rita and Attorney Bono ADAZA, be safe and God bless. And then we have Queen Nahaya, character, correct values, integrity, this. Sinulat niya yung sinabi mo, Bono, and a good set of brains. Amelita Iwase, salute to you, Attorney Bono and Ma'am Rita. And then we have several others. Delphine Estigoy Sr., good afternoon to you and Sir Bono ADAZA. Several others. Marliu the disco entertainment has distorted the value of society, especially the youth. Entertainment does have their own agenda too, because etc. They have been deceived by the celebrities or the fallen stars. Then we have Ma Figueroa. You're right, Attorney ADAZA. We have to go back from the years when former President Marcos had disciplined the nation. Freddy Oredina, oligarch power is returned after Marcos administration. Then we have, I'm skipping some who are just saying good afternoon. We have change is needed. This is Marliu the disco. Change is needed in these times. How can we expect change from the surface when the foundations are built on the old system? It's time to dismantle the old system. Cherico Barubias, I'm watching from Wakwak. Good afternoon, Ritz. Let's change the constitution. You're correct, Attorney ADAZA. This is Cherry, also a loyalist she was our guest last week. Lourdes Kalk, good evening, Ma'am Rita and Mr. Bono ADAZA. Listening po sa Accra City, West Africa. Sana po si BBM ang manalo sa eleksyon. So they're already endorsing their candidates and they're talking about several other provinces likewise. So those are some of the people who've joined us, Bono, and several more that I don't have time
Thanks them for me.
Yes. So
and
thank
may
you.
Their tribe increase.
Indeed. Yeah, they're increasing. Our voters list will be increasing this coming elections. And I suppose that this will be another event which is so important, as Bono said, it's a benchmark. But for now, thank you very much, Bono ADAZA, for having joined our program.
Welcome, and thank you too.
Yes, and maybe
bless and take care.
Thank you. Maybe next time we could do more details on the kind of leadership that we actually need. So for all of those who've listened in, thank you for having the patience to have listened to us. And again, as we said, in this period of the pandemic, we still are praying, oh Lord, to give us this day as your day. Walk with us to the season that we're having these difficult times. With your healing hands, heal those that need your guidance and, of course, your miracles. Help us also to be able to survive this virus and to be able to unite as a nation despite and because of elections coming. Thank you, O Lord, for the blessings that we have received. Thank you for all the people that have been compassionate and kind to us and to others. And may we likewise learn the most important virtue of it all, and that is to love one another as we have been loved by our Lord. Amen. Thank you for having joined me. This is Rita Gadi, and this has been your hour with Bono ADAZA.